welcome to the stream, in case you missed that part. I'm Vampire Preacher. Today we are going to be unboxing the complete BroThor wave of Marvel Legends figures. That makes me very happy. I finally got in my Vision, who I've been waiting on forever. And there might be a special bonus unboxing at the end. Are you guys gonna be cool? You guys gonna be cool? You gotta be cool. If you're gonna be cool, there might be a special bonus unboxing. You'll enjoy it, I guarantee. So, without any further of me just flapping my gums, let's get into it, shall we? We've got 6 figures today, plus a build-to-figure, plus 2 customizing things that I want to show you guys how to do to make your display that much more amazing. And if we get to do our bonus figure today, it's not 1 figure. Oh, no. It's 3. You'll see when we get to it. Long story short, TLDR, Cyber Monday was very good to me with the 10% off code through HasbroPulks.com and the amazing deals that were on Amazon. So I'm very, very happy. So, we will start off today's review with actually the figure that I'm looking forward to the least in it. Ironic, since it's the figure I'm wearing the uniform of. It is Captain Steve Rogers. But Vamp, aren't you a Captain America fan? You own like 5 Captain America shirts and like 5 shields. Ouch, I just realized, no, it's like 6 shields. Nerd! Yow, that's a high number. Why are you looking forward to him the least? I'll tell you why. This actually is not an original figure for this wave. This is a redo of a previous figure. This was first featured in the Mandroid wave. Pretty much this exact same figure with a different head sculpt and a different build figure piece. That came out back in the... It's been a minute. I believe it was Captain America Winter Soldier was the Mandroid wave. Yeah, it was Winter Soldier. So Captain America 2, which was part of Phase 2. This is an old figure. So its articulation is a little dicey, I'm not gonna lie to you guys. It's a so-so. But it has an arm for our BroThor, and I really am looking forward to BroThor. You've heard enough of me talking, let's get into it. And, fingers crossed, our hand cam is probably fixed. By the way, you guys like the new sides? Hopefully that was the issue with our hand cam previously. Speaking of, if you like this design and this design, you know where you could see more of that. So, if you're here, you probably already saw the tweet. You probably... Well, I mean, I know that you're on the Twitch, because that's where the stream is right now. But, did you know that we've got a YouTube channel? We upload all of these once they're fixed up, memed up, and edited for content. And by content, I mean clarity, and, again, being shortened because I'm a little bit long-winded, I'll admit it. I know my editor's going to have fun with that one. But you could see more of that amazing side background, as it is the background of all of the amazing thumbnails for our YouTube videos that my spectacular editor does. But enough of me talking about just how amazing my editor is. Let's get into the figures we've got here. I will get my opening device.
It's a knife.
Which you guys can't see because, haha, I actually have my hand cam back. I'm so thankful. Before we get into the figure itself, of course, we've got the window pane front, our little name on the side here, our artistic representation on the side and on the back, and, of course, our little blurb, plus all of the other figures in the wave, which we have the entire wave of this time. So we're going to be getting all of this amazing BroThor figure today. The background is just the Avengers A with the sunburst around it. And once we take off the cover, we've got Captain America. Now, I'm actually really thankful I did not get this Captain America. I know. Be shocked. Be shocked. Vampire Preacher did not buy a Captain America figure. I'm as surprised as you. However, let me explain. So, I have so many Captain America figures, it's not even funny. Like, it's just ridiculous. So, I actually passed on this one because I didn't like the look of it. And I didn't much care about the Mandroid Build-A-Figure at the time. Well, eventually I had enough pieces that I was just missing the head that this figure came with, and I just bought the head online. So, I don't have this figure until now, because I hated the head sculpt they gave to old Steve Rogers here. Additionally, we're going to be doing something a little bit different. Normally, you guys know that I assemble my Build-A-Figures off-screen, and then show them to you at the end. However, I've been told my viewers want to see it assembled live. So, we're going to do that. We're going to see what that's going to be like. Had to get up for a second because I almost forgot. That's right, it's back, and we're not going to forget about it this time. Our T-Square goodness will be back. We've got the same Captain America shield we've been getting for I don't even know how long. This thing, they didn't do a remold of the front. They've only done a remold of the back. Beyond that, this has been the same shield they've been using since, I believe, Iron Man 1, when they did the different armors, the different concept armors, and one of them was a Captain America one. I know, because, of course, I own that Captain America Iron Man armor. Of course I do. Of course I do. It's me. But we'll put that to the side. In the meantime, let's get into our Captain America figure here, shall we? So, obviously, we've got this new head sculpt, which is making Steve look all kinds of nice. For that head sculpt, are we going to move? Let's see what kind of... No, it is on a standard ball joint that we've been seeing for ages. Don't know why. It was really stiff. But... yikes, that is the stiffest joint. I'm not willing to go breaking this brand new figure that I just got out of the box, but that's as far as he's looking down because of this neck joint, and that's as far as he's looking up. It's a little bit shameful. For his arm articulation, better than a T-pose. I'll take it. I will take better than a T-pose today. Very nice. Way to go, Steve. We, of course, have the bicep swivel. If I can get it to swivel without the shoulder swiveling. We've got double jointed elbows. I want to hear it from you guys. What do you think? Looking at that, is that good flex? It's getting there. It's getting there, but I don't think it's there. It's not quite. It's just shy. We have something I haven't seen in ages. It's not just a wrist... Oh, that's why. What in the hell? Okay, in case you guys can't see what I'm seeing here. So, we've got a forearm swivel, which swivels around just fine. That is because we have no other wrist articulation. Nothing. There's no break in this. We don't have the sword swivel. We don't have the standard wrist hinge. We've got nothing. His hands are just fixed in place, and that's on both sides. Why? Why would you do this, Hasbro? That is such an asinine choice to make. That's just dumb. Okay. We also have a ab swivel instead of an ab crunch because I don't have a clue what they were thinking with this. So we've got a little bit of side to side here. Can only go this far forward, and it can go a decent degree back. Not great, but decent. No waist cut, even though it would be hidden by the belt. No waist cut at all. Wow! That's a blast from the past. Guys, look at the hips! It's the old ball joint hips. Jeez, that's a ToyBiz era thing. That's really showing this mold's age, just looking at these hips. That's insane. It's going to say one thing, though. Captain America is going to have the absolute best range that we're going to get out of any other figure today. He can do a full-on split. Wow. Sorry, guys. I've got a little bit of a cold. If I'm sniffling into the mic, I'm so sorry. I'm not trying to, I promise. But we've got a full-on split out of Captain America. At least we've got good posing out of him for that, but does it look good? Of course, we've got the thigh cuts because of it. We've got the double jointed knees. They can go back a decent degree. There's a little bit of flash on the boot here, and a little bit of too much muscle on the thigh to make it so it can't go back any further. I'm not seeing any kind of movement on his boots. He does have rocker ankles, though, so that's a nice thing. And that is an absolutely disturbing degree in, an incredibly painful degree out. They should go back and forth. Man, these joints are stiff. He can go all the way on point. Back and forward. He can go back a decent degree. I will say, because of these very old joints, Tony's right. Steve, that old suit did absolutely nothing for your ass.
I think you look great, Cap. As far as I'm concerned, that's America's ass.
I don't care if you think that's America's ass. This figure does nothing for his ass. So, looking into the figure, looking into what we've got here. Is it a fantastic representation of Captain America, Steve Rogers? It would have been... God, how long ago was that? 6 years ago. 6 years ago, this would have been a great representation. Because that's where the technology for the figure was at 6 years ago. These days, it's not so grand. And if you guys can't tell, I'm trying to get his shield onto his arm so that you could see what he looks like brandishing the shield. Because we know what scene you're going to do with this figure. You're going to have him fighting against a newer Captain America. Because that's what I'm going to do with it. I'm going to do the mirror mirror scene that they did. He can't quite reach up to that headcom piece, though. It's a little bit disappointing. There we are. Now, being the year 2019, what do I give this figure? Before I get into my rating. T-square. For our artistically inclined friends. God knows I'm not, but... So we're looking at about 6 3/4 inches. Maybe he's not fully lined up at the bottom. 6.5 inches. It's taller than I expected him to be, but alright. What do we think of the figure? It definitely shows the age of this mold. I will say that. I will definitely say the age of this mold, it shows, and it shows hard. Those hips do not look good. Like I said, like Tony said, This costume does absolutely nothing for his ass. Is it a great figure? No. Is it a good figure? Serviceable. It'll do if you want to set up that mirror scene, but it's really all I'm going to use it for. Beyond that, kind of like the new head they did. For the most part, it's going to stay right in its box. I'm not going to lie to you guys. I'm not going to do much with it besides do that mirror scene. For a rating for it, I'm going to give it... It's a 5. It's a 5 out of 10. It's not a fantastic figure. They did a new head sculpt to make it a little bit more like Chris Evans, but that's the best I can say for this thing. Beyond that, it's kind of rough. It's a little rough. Some very unique engineering decisions they did back in the day that I am not a big fan of these days. Let's move on then, shall we? So, we've got 3 more figures of people that we've seen done multiple times, and 3 figures, one we've only seen in a 2-pack, one of them we've seen in a different costume, but not this costume, and one it is the first time in the line. So, let's do someone that we haven't seen in a minute. After all, WandaVision's going to be coming soon to Disney Plus near you, so let's take a look at our Vision figure. Now, this is a phasing version of Vision. I noticed that when I picked him up. He's got kind of a translucency to the plastic, which I love. I'm excited to have an MCU Vision, because I didn't get the Wanda and Vision 2-pack because I already got the Civil War version of Wanda, and I'm fine with having her. So, let's complete our MCU Avengers, shall we? Alright, enough of seeing me, you want to see this guy. So, getting into what we've got here. We've got the window pane on the front. We've got our artistic rendering on the side. The same artistic rendering is on the back. We've got our little blurb there about the physics-defying android Vision. We've got the line of all the other figures here. Inside, doesn't look like Vision himself is coming with much. It's more so that he's coming with accessories for Thor. Backgrounds, once again, that Avengers A with the Starburst. For our BroThor Build-A-Figure, Vision comes with the main body. This is the all-new sculpted body they did, which I don't even know if they're ever going to reuse this body. It's just so weird. I love it, but it's definitely a very unique mold. They don't know who else they're going to make Pudgy wearing a hoodie, because... Oh, well, I guess they could take off the hoodie part and the strings here, because the jacket just slides off. This is just barely attached. If they've got someone else with the little hoodie... Oh, that's even not attached. That's soft goods plastic itself. So, I guess they could reuse this. We'll have to see in the future just how, but I guess they could. We'll put that to the side for now, along with our new version of Stormbreaker. I'm not sure I'm in love with the new version of Stormbreaker. I know we've got a previous Stormbreaker, which we might even be seeing today if we do a little bit of customizing, which we might do. And you guys are going to stay here for the customizing, right? You'll stick around. You'll stick around for the customizing. Am I right? Am I right? All right. So, let's get into Vision himself. Now, the cape actually goes through the back of the packaging here. So, getting him free is going to be its own little task. There we are. Simple, you just pop off the head. Not the same way Thanos popped off his head. Too soon.
Shut up! Shut up!
And then, there you go. He's out of the packaging for you. Which we do have a peg on the cape and a peg on the back of him, which can be used to keep the peg in place, although I'm going to use that peg to make him be in flying poses with the different stands that I have. I'll just have the cape kind of laying over the stand so that you can't really notice, like this. Just have the stand coming up through here, so that it gives the floating illusion much better in displays and in pictures. Alright. Getting into what we've got going on with this figure here, because he's definitely unique. I'm surprised with the Vision mold that they gave us, because this is just a remold of the WandaVision 2-pack that was a Toys R Us exclusive. The Hulk suit's got a very unique texture on it. I'm surprised they haven't reused this mold for more Vision. And it actually has a pretty decent rendition of Paul Bettany's face on it. Again, I don't know what they're thinking, but at least we've got Vision now. For our articulation. He can look down decently well, not amazingly well, but decently. And can look up to an alright degree. It's not a fantastic amount that he can look up. I'm not going to put him into a great flying pose because of it, but he can look up an alright degree. For our shoulder articulation. Better than a T-pose. I'll take better than a T-pose. We also, of course, have the bicep swivels here. And I'm thinking we're going to get it out of Vision. Ladies and gentlemen, you know it, you love it, it's that good flex. You got it. Alright. Alright, Hasbro. You're giving us figures that actually flex. Thank you. Thank you. He's got enough range of motion in there to actually flex. Which, yes, means if you want to make Vision dab, you can. Do I? Absolutely not. No, absolutely not. Don't edit that in. Retro, don't edit that in.
He got scared then hit the dab like Wiz Khalifa.
We've got that good flex. Perfect. We don't have the same really weird forearm gauntlet cut that we had in Captain America, but we do actually have, you know, wrist cuts. They're the standard in and out wrist cuts, but at least they're something. They're more than we got with Cap. We do have a ab crunch on our Vision. He can bend over pretty well. And, ladies, he is bending over backwards for you to a very painful degree. Thankfully, he's just a computer, so that doesn't really hurt. We do have a hip cut on him, or a waist cut rather, so that's a nice thing. Decent range of motion on our hips. It's not quite Captain America good, but that's the very, very old hip style, and let's be honest, it doesn't look so great these days. This, I'm alright with. We of course have the thigh cuts if it will unfree. Wow. Wow, that is the most frozen joint. Wow. Okay. We've got thigh cuts here. I just can't move them without snapping something on here, so I'm not even going to try that. I'll have to do the old hairdryer trick on those. he can get his double-jointed knees up a decent way. They're alright. They're about as good as Captain America got, but he doesn't quite have the same thigh meat and calf meat that Cap had, so whatever. I'm not seeing anything going on, so no boot cuts here. He does, of course, have the rocker ankles, which can go a absolutely disturbing degree in. An incredibly painful degree out. A slight bit forward, and all the way on point back. All in all, it's a decent figure. Am I going to tell you it's great? I'm not sure. I'm a little bit skewed because of the thighs being frozen up on mine, but I do really enjoy the translucent plastic on it. It really gives that phasing look to Vision. His cape also has the same translucency to it. I'm not sure if you can see through it. Probably looks like it's all one piece here, but you can actually slightly see through the cape. So it really showcases his powers. And I like that better than the Visions that I currently have, because I've got 3 other Vision figures. The Mango Vision, the White Vision, and I forget which the other one is. It's one of the 3 packs. I forget what the nickname given to him was. So this is my 4th Vision figure that I've got. And he's pretty alright. You know what? I like him. I like him. If I'm going to give him a rating, I'm not forgetting, I promise. If I'm going to give our Vision here a rating, I'm going to give him... He's a solid 7. He's a solid 7. I know that the Vision that was previously available in the 2-pack is really hard to find. Same thing with the Scarlet Witch from that 2-pack. If you found the Civil War Scarlet Witch and this Vision, then you're good. You got yourself a WandaVision set that's the best you're going to get, at least until they do ones based off the WandaVision series. For the height of our Vision here, we're looking again at about... Let's move him in because of the cape. We're at about 6.5, so about the same height as Steve. Yeah, he's going to be a 7. He's going to be a 7 in my book. He's better than that Captain America figure. I like the likeness a little more. I like some of the features of it a little more. It's just a fun figure. And, again, it brings my MCU Avengers to a completion. I don't think there's anyone else I need, as far as the MCU Avengers goes, to have a complete team for the Civil War head-to-head battle. He's the last one. We've already gotten way too many Black Panthers. We've gotten Bucky a couple times over. Falcon a couple times over. Way too many Caps, way too many Tonys. I don't think we've got that era of Clint. So we're probably missing Hawkeye. We got Giant Man, though. We got Natasha. We've, of course, got War Machine in a bunch of different iterations. Now we've got Vision. So, yeah, that should about do it for that set. So, cool. Again, I like him. He's a solid 7. For our next figure, yeah, I'm gonna work my way up to that one because I'm interested in one of these. I'm pretty interested in one of them because he's gonna be a big old beefy boy. But we'll get to him later. For now, let's get to someone that I know is on your mind, is on my mind, and that we remember fondly. Iron Man. Now this is probably the final MCU Iron Man figure we're going to get. It is, of course, the Mark... You're really going to make me try and say this one. I think it's 75. No, 85. Yes, the Mark 85. So I can Roman numeral, I can. I believe this is the Mark 85 armor. The one seen, of course, in Endgame with the I am Iron Man snap. I can't snap. What of it? So, let's get into what we've got in the package here. So, of course, we've got our window pane front. Tells us our Iron Man Mark 85 name. With all of our accessories here for Iron Man. Our artistic representation on the side and back. And, of course, our blurb all about Tony Stark and his Mark 85 armor. Then, of course, we've got the remaining characters from the wave and the representation of the BroThor build-to-figure once it is complete. Inside the packaging, the backing is once again just that starburst with the Avengers A on it. It looks like most of our accessories went to Mr. Stark. Which I'll take. Including our other arm of BroThor. An alternative hand, which I believe is for BroThor. Yeah, it looks like it's the same type of glove here. So I believe this is an alternative hand for BroThor. An alternative hand and gauntlet for the Stark Gauntlet from the end of the movie. A ton of these Repulsar effects. And 2 extra hands for Mr. Tony Stark. One of which is in a fist, one of which has the Repulsar opening on it. Ooh. Ooh. I gotta switch views for a second. The feeling of this figure is very slick. Like, it probably looks even better than it feels, but it feels very slick. I like how this figure feels. It feels good in hand. I'm impressed. Alright, Hasbro. Let's see what you got here. Because I'm liking this. What kind of head do we have here? That is weird. That is the weirdest attachment for any head that I've seen. That is the tiniest little ball joint. Huh. That's unusual. Of course, that also makes it a little bit hard to do something I wanted to do, because I kind of wanted to take off this head and put on the unmasked Tony Stark head from the Civil War 3-pack, so that I can get that real and I am Iron Man pose out of him. That is the weirdest head. Alright. For the articulation on this weird head, he can look down alright. He can look up decently well. Not perfectly well, but decently. For our shoulder articulation... Come on now. Come on now, Tony. You're embarrassing me in front of the wizards.
Dude, you're embarrassing me in front of the wizards.
We're getting a T-pose out of him. We're getting a T-pose out of it. We do, of course, have the bicep swivel, the double-jointed elbows. You know what? I'll say it. I'll call it. It's not quite what we had with Vision, but it's a little bit better than we had with Cap. I'll call it that good flex. I'll call it that good flex here. It looks good enough. Looks good enough for me. We actually do have articulation on our Repulsar hands. It's not the standard in and out wrist cut. It's kind of half of that, where it doesn't go down too much, but it does go all the way back to better show off that Repulsar look that we get from Tony. Which, especially with all the Repulsars that they gave us. They gave us 4 of the things. If you think I'm going to not display it with all 4, you are 100% incorrect. But he doesn't have a back peg. That's going to make it a little bit interesting to try and hold him up. I might need to get a different stand. Probably need to get a Tamashi for it. But just so that you guys can see what it looks like. I think it's different length pegs depending on hands or feet. Which is interesting. It's certainly interesting, but you can get Tony giving that dual Repulsar blast while flying. So, hey, you gave us enough to do that. Thanks, Hasbro. For our waist swivel, we've got a little bit to the side, not too much. Forward, he can go just a hair and back. He can actually go a pretty decent degree back. Better than the Bucky Cap mold, and that's got a full-on ab crunch, so... Alright. No waist cut here. For our hip articulation, decent. Not Captain America good, not Vision good, but decent. We once again have thigh cuts, but once again they are so frozen up, they just don't want to move for me. So, we've got it moving on one, so that's good enough. For our double jointed knees, we can go back an alright degree. It's not great, it's just enough to get out of physical therapy after a knee replacement, but it's alright. It'll do, after all. I'm not gonna really have him doing any more than slightly bending his legs so that it looks a little bit better while flying. For his feet, we do have rocker ankles, but they only go a hair either way. There's a little bit too much flash at the bottom of the boot here to let it go too far either way. He goes a little bit forward, and he barely goes back. Like, he barely. I really have to wrench it back to get it to go back at all. Before I give my rating, I'm curious as to something. I did not think that the gauntlet would fit on him. The peg is just too big. I did not feel like this figure was going to be meant to have the Repulsar, or the Start Gauntlet on it. And I was correct. But what figure is meant to have it? I'm glad you guys asked. After all, as part of this review, customizing time! It's the highest my voice has gone in ages. You might remember when we did the previous Endgame wave. I see this as an absolute win. Where we had the Professor Hulk Build-A-Figure. Now my guess is, if I pop off the old Prof's hand here, I can put on the Stark Gauntlet. Ta-da! So, there you go, ladies and gentlemen. Your Mark 85 Tony Stark for the Avengers Endgame BroThor wave also comes with a bonus edition for your previous Professor Hulk figure, to give him the Stark Gauntlet for the, of course, iconic scene where Hulk tries to do the snap himself and destroys his arm in the process. But it fits like a glove. It fits like it was on there the entire time. And honestly, I kind of like how it looks on him. I'm kind of feeling displaying it just like this, with Prof. Hulk donning this obscenely powerful gauntlet. I really like how it looks. So, all in all, what rating would we give our Tony Stark? As I said when we started, I love how this figure feels in hand. It feels awesome. Like, it feels really cool. It not only comes with a normal hand for the BroThor Build-A-Figure, but also one with our time turner on it, so that's going to be interesting. To give us options for displaying it, so that's cool. It comes with 4 of our Repulsar effects here, so yeah, for once they gave us enough for both hands and feet. Plus 2 extra hands, so we can get either double punching or double blasting, and that's great. Plus the Stark Gauntlet for our previous Professor Hulk Build-A-Figure. He's going to be an 8. Even with the couple problems that there were, and the fact that I have so many Iron Men now. But I can make a Hall of Armor, so whatever that works. I do really like this figure. I'm going to give it an 8. There's a couple things I would have liked to have seen with it that's preventing it from being higher. But an 8 feels right. It feels like it should be a little bit more, but an 8 feels okay. The only thing really holding it back is the new arc reactor just being a white blob. They didn't do any kind of like coloring on it. If they'd have done something to make it stand out a little bit, he'd have probably gotten a 9 from me. But as it stands, he's a solid 8. He's currently the highest reviewed wave figure in the wave. That way, not the other way. Alright. So we are improving. That's a good thing. That's surprising, but it's a good thing. So, as we've been seeing, there's a little bit of a pattern here. We do a figure there's a bunch of, we do a figure there's not a bunch of. So let's keep that pattern going, shall we? So, the next figure that we will be reviewing today is someone who technically has 2 other figures in... Actually, 3 other figures in Marvel Legends scale. One, the first time we saw her was in a 2-pack with Hulk at Toys R Us, and that's many years ago. So long ago, it's the last time that we saw Warpath as a figure, and of course, I didn't get him then, so... Hopeful for that Deadpool wave where we're getting him. The Strong Guy wave, so cool. We've seen her then in her classic comic book form a second time, and, of course, most recently, in her Thor Ragnarok outfit. I am, of course, speaking of Valkyrie. Now, this is Valkyrie in her actual armor that we see in the end of Avengers Endgame. She doesn't come with a Pegasus. So now I'm going to be looking for a 1/12 scale Pegasus. Of course I will be. But it's her in the end of Endgame's armor, only lacking a Pegasus. So, let's get into what we see here. Of course, we've got the window pane front, the artistic rendering of Tessa Thompson on the back, along with, or on the side and back. It's the same rendering on the side and back, it doesn't matter. And our little blurb about her up there, along with the rest of the wave. On the inside, we again have that same background, just with the Avengers Starburst. And then we get into the good stuff. She, of course, comes with the BroThor Build-to-Figure leg of Thor in pajama pants. Apparently, did not realize this before, wearing, if you can see on this, he's wearing Crocs and no socks. Keep it classy, Thor. She also comes with the scabbard for Dragon Fang. And, of course, Dragon Fang. Now, getting her out of here, is not as hard as I thought it would be. I thought the cape went all the way around the front. It does not. It just kind of stops. So, cool. Well, that makes my life significantly easier. However, since it doesn't go around the front, you can't have the peg in the back which holds up the cape. You cannot have that peg be used to make her fly, but she's not a flying character, nor can you use it to kind of keep her on a Pegasus if you were to get a 1/12 scale Pegasus. Not that I know anyone that's going to be looking for a 1/12 scale Pegasus. Why are you all looking at me? So, I will give them massive credit here. The face, which of course it's not going to autofocus on the face, even though I desperately want it to. The face looks very accurate to Tessa Thompson. So, I'm rather happy about that. They did a really good job with the facial capture on this figure. It looks really good. So, once again, in a rare moment, good job, Hasbro. Approved. Enough about that. Let's get into the articulation here. For Men in Black International's head articulation, she can look up a decent degree, and actually can look down pretty well. I think she might even be able to look... Yeah, she can even look back better than I thought. So that's actually impressive. Alright. That's a good start. For our shoulder articulation, a little bit better than a T-pose. Alright. I like where this is going. Do we have... Hasbro, we've had this conversation too many times. Where's the bicep cut? Where's the double jointed elbow? Where's the ab crunch? Where's the waist cut? Your female figures will sell better if you put more fucking effort into them. Sorry about that. Like I said, because of Kappa, we're no longer being viewer-friendly here. So, that's going to be that. So we only have single-jointed elbows. That's all we're getting. That's it. It's barely 90 degrees. That's just abysmal. We do have, of course, the wrist articulation, which is just standard in and out. And that is the case on both sides. Neither side has the sword cut, even though she literally comes with a sword to be used with the sword cut. But let's pop that thing right on into here. So that's how it looks in the sheath. So, alright. At least that's neat. A sword that's thin enough to actually fit in the sheath. If maybe it could all stay flat would be even better, but I'll take what I can get with that. For our ab swivel, we can go a bit on the side to side. Not a great amount. A little bit forward. And a little bit back. But that's it. Once again, there's no waist cut here. For our hips, that's as far as you're getting. That's all that you're getting out of Valkyrie's hip articulation. It's okay. It's not great. We, of course, have the thigh cuts here. The double jointed knees. Which can go... Actually, if we adjust that a bit... I don't care about the cape falling off. Yeah, they can go all the way back. That's impressive. For our ankles, of course, we've got the rocker ankles. But they only seem to be moving on a straight peg, which is a little weird. They don't seem to really be rocking side to side. It can go an absolutely disturbing degree forward, though. And can go a little bit back. All in all, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about this figure. I genuinely don't. I don't know what to say. I really like that we got a battle armor Valkyrie. So, that's awesome for my ending to Thor Ragnarok as a setup with her and Loki and Thor and Hulk. So that's cool. I can have the four of them on the bridge the way they were. Awesome. But is it a great figure? I'll be honest, I don't even know what to do with this sheath here. There's no real place to put it on the character to make it so that the sheath is here for a legitimate reason. If you had it hanging off the hip, or even hanging off the back in some way, I could make sense of it, but it's just kind of thrown in. It's a really good rendition of Tessa Thompson, but most of these pieces, actually I think all of these pieces are a brand new mold. I haven't seen this armor or the patterns anywhere on any other figure. So Hasbro, why couldn't you give us some extra mold, some extra tooling with it? Give us double jointed elbows. Give us some boot cuts for the girl. Something. I really like Valkyrie as a character. Both in the comics and in the movies. And this is a character my editor wants to cosplay. And I want her to cosplay this character. I really do. But I don't feel like this figure did it justice. I'm going to give it a 6. I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10. She's okay. She's better than the Captain America figure that we got because the likeness is just that damn good. The new tooling on the new armor is that great. And she really completes my A-Force setup for the end of Avengers Endgame. Because I really do want to do a setup with all of those. Now I've got her. I think I've got all of the A-Force members that were a part of that ending scene. I was really a big fan of it. As a comic book nerd, I love the fact that they assembled together the A-Force. Is it the comic book version? Of course it's not. It's what they've got in the MCU. We'll deal. But yeah, now I need to find a 1/12 scale Pegasus to put her on top of to make it so that is 100% accurate of a scene. So, and I mean 100%, no more, no less. Yeah, she's gonna get a 6. She's not great, but she's not terrible. I'm a little bit disappointed, only because I like the character so much. So that you guys can see our scaling on her. She is... just over 5 1/4, or 6 1/4. Just over 6 1/4 inches tall. And I realize now, I'm stupid, I didn't do that with our Iron Man. So, let's move her over. Give our Iron Man a look. He's just over 6... Yeah, he looks to be just over 6.5. And I mean, just a hair over 6.5 inches. We'll say it's the armor that does it, because we all know. RDJ, I love you to pieces, man, but you ain't that tall. You ain't Chris Evans tall. No, you are not, sir. Yeah, she's gonna be a 6. Pick her up for the piece. Pick her up if you didn't get the 2-pack Valkyrie. Pick her up if you want the more accurate battle armor Valkyrie, and pick her up if you're a big fan of Tessa Thompson. But honestly, if you're not any of those things and you just want the figure, she's okay. Maybe wait for her to go on sale. Changing gears to someone who's had more than just... Actually, now that I think about it, Valkyrie's had quite a few figures, hasn't she? We're seeing 4 for her, but I know our next guy has had more than 4 figures in recent memory. We had him as part of the Professor Hulk wave unboxing. We had him as part of the Hulk Buster wave. He was part of a 2-pack with Iron Man. He had countless Iron Man... Well, when the Iron Man movies were out, he had countless figures in those. He's had ones going back to the Galactus wave of figures. He's been with us for a while, but it's a little bit different version of him. It is War Machine. In particular, it's Iron Patriot War Machine, or at least that's what they're calling him, but it is the accurate to the ending of Endgame War Machine / Iron Patriot. So, let's get into what we've got in front of us. Now, I can already tell you guys, this is a hefty package. This has weight to it, so know that going into it. We've, of course, got our window pane here with everything that we've got shown off there. Our side here, which is, ironically enough, the side and back are less of the Iron Patriot that we see in front of us, and they look more like the same side and back that we got with the previous War Machine figure from the Professor Hulk wave. Funny enough. We also have our blurb here, all about Rhodey and what we have waiting for us inside. So, when we open it up, let's see what we've got. We actually have 2 trays here. We've, of course, got the same Avengers A with the Starburst that we had previously. There's 2 trays, because he needed a whole separate tray just for weaponry.
Well done.
We also have 2 separate Thor heads here for our BroThor Build-A-Figure. One with the long beard, long hair, and no glasses. And one that thinks that that's just like your opinion, man.
Yeah, well, that's just like your opinion, man.
We've got the full-on Lebowski Thor here, complete with glasses, the whole shebang. Now, this is giving me some ideas. Is it giving you guys ideas? Stick around, you'll see what I mean. So, popping him out. Ooh. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. Iron Patriot, War Machine, whatever you want to call him. I know what I'm calling him. I'm calling him a beefy boy. Because he has a lot of heft to him, and I love it. He also has so many guns. Oh, so many guns. That's what I like to see with my War Machine. More guns than I can count. Okay, well, it's 4 plus the ones on his arms, which, Jesus, there's missile pods inside of here if you look closely. On each side of the wrist, there's missiles. There's the upper and lower cannons. There's the missile pods on the sides here. Yeah. Yeah. This is what I'm talking about. Of course, our cannons pop in right up here. Our missile pods pop in right up here. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm not laughing. I am overjoyed. Look at this. Look at the ridiculousness of this figure. Look at how many guns, how many missiles there are. I'm so happy. That is my kind of War Machine. Did I even pop these on the wrong way? I think I did. That makes a lot more sense that way. That makes a significant amount more sense. Having them like that. Good God. Look at this figure. Oh. That's just insane. Alright. I'm going on and on too much about just how in love with this figure I am right now, because I really am. Let's get into the articulation. For our neck articulation, if you can even see his neck here, you can only look up a little bit. You can only look down a small amount. There's too much flash on the back of his neck and the front of his neck to really do any more than that. For our shoulder articulation, it's slightly less than a T-pose, and the soft goods plastic are making the arms try and come down. But you know what? It's actually forgivable in this. He does have... He's got bicep swivels, but they're rotating independently of the rest of his arm? Alright. That's unique. Mostly because he only has single-jointed elbows. You can't put a double joint on this. You can't. And you can make it go in this weird angle, but you can't make it go any further out. And if you're trying to get him to do a good flow, he can't even try and do that good flex. It's not happening. He does have wrist joints. It's the standard in and out wrist joint. Not that he can go very far back, just that he can go inward with it. But honestly, that's all I really need, so that you can see the missiles about to annihilate you coming out the top. Well, he's getting ready to absolutely pepper you with the 2 machine guns on the sides, with the missile pods on the top, with the machine guns on the top. It's so ridiculous and I love it. There's a slight amount of back and forth with his ab crunch, or ab swivel. There's a little bit of movement forward, and just a hair back. He's barely moving, I'm not gonna lie to you guys. He can give us a pretty decent spread as far as his hip joints go, so that's moderately impressive. We're seeing the same hip cuts that we saw on the previous War Machine figure, so we've got the same thigh cut, and it actually looks pretty great with this. This is, of course, an all-new mold here, and these actually come off, too. Okay. So you can display him if you so choose to. If you so choose, you can take off most of the heavy armaments, minus the ones on his hands, to give him a little bit more streamlined look, and just keep all of the, I mean, all of these just ridiculous armaments to the side. Well, let's be honest here. This is War Machine. You're not doing that. You're not doing that. You're gonna put on as many guns as you can. For our double-jointed knees. Are they double-jointed, or... are they only single-jointed? Because I'm only getting the top one to move. I'm only getting the top joint to move here, but we're getting about 90 degrees. It's not grand, but he's a little bit too big to get it to move any other way. The back armor plating here is really keeping him from going any further back with that. He doesn't have any kind of boot cut for his rocker ankles. That's all the movement we're getting in, and all the movement we're getting out. All of our forward movement. And even though this is barely attached, it doesn't look like we're getting... yeah, no, we're not really getting much backward movement out of it. I wouldn't expect it. He's just too much of a big, beefy boy for me to expect him to get very much movement at all. I'm not going to lie to you guys. I love it. And I've heard a rumor with this figure. Before we get into that, let's take a look at him size-wise. Now, he is also our biggest guy thus far today, measuring in at over 7 inches tall. He's the biggest guy we've seen, and yeah, he is a big, beefy boy. And I love him. I love him so much. But I've heard a rumor. A rumor, you say? Yes. A rumor that you can use this figure with another one to make an even better display for your Avengers Endgame setup. Whatever does he mean? Well, let me show you. I've heard rumor that if you have the Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 Rocket Raccoon, I have heard that this figure can actually set in the back of this new Iron Patriot. Let's get Rocket's foot back on, because that just came out. Now, what I've heard, based on the rumor that I've heard, is that you can unpop his right hand, and that the remaining part of his right arm actually fits perfectly into this socket, which it does. Meaning, if you'd like to recreate the scene from Avengers Endgame where Rocket is hanging off the back of Iron Patriot, you can. For a quick 5-second mock-up. Bam. There you go. There is Rocket Raccoon hanging off of Iron Patriot at the end of Avengers Endgame. Is that done on purpose? I'm not sure. But I do know this. That looks damn cool. And it might be how I want to display my rocket from now on. And there's no other modifications done here. I popped out the hand, popped it directly in to that missile pod. And that's that. That was it. 2 seconds. I could put a bigger gun into Rocket's hands. And that'd probably be the only thing I'd do, is put a bigger gun in his hands. Beyond that, yeah, that's probably exactly how I'm going to display this, because that's just too cool for words. So I'm sure you guys know that this figure is going to get a good rating from me. And you're right. You're 100% right. Our Iron Patriot, War Machine, whatever you want to call him, Rhodey. He's going to get a 9. He's getting a solid 9 from me. This is a great figure. I was impressed with what they did with the previous figure with War Machine from Endgame that wasn't in the right colors. I just liked it as a War Machine because it looked great. It looked amazing just as a War Machine figure. This is fantastic. If you are only getting one figure out of this wave... Now, we do have one more figure to review. We do have one more figure to review today. But, as it stands, unless our next figure absolutely blows me out of the water, get this figure. Get him. If you are a Marvel Legends fan, get him. If you are a MCU fan, get him. If you want to recreate that final battle and want to have Rocket hanging off, get him. If you just like War Machine, get him. If you like Iron Man, you want a Hall of Armors, get him. This figure is that good. This figure made up for any shortcomings of the other figures in this wave today. This figure is that good. Grab this figure. If you see him, if you can get your hands on him, get him with your 2 extra Thor heads. Even if you don't complete the build figure, we might have a purpose for one of these heads later on. Stick around. Get this figure. It is amazing. It's just plain fun. Well, I'm hoping our last figure of the wave, before the build figure, is going to match that energy. I'm really hoping, because expectations are high. They are above my screen high after that figure. So, our last figure of our BroThor build-a-figure is, for the first time in the line, the very first time we've ever seen this character in plastic form. Ladies and gentlemen, Heimdall. I have been waiting for a figure of Heimdall for far too long. I would have preferred his armored version, but I'll take what I can get. I'll take his Nomad hiding from Hela version. If that's all I can get, I'll take it. Our last figure of the day is Heimdall. So, let's get into what we've got here. Of course, we've got our window pane with... And what you see is what you get here. There's no second tray. It's just what we've got here, and I'm still excited. We've got our artistic representation of Idris Elba on the side and on the back. We've got our blurb about him and the remaining figures in the line, of which he is the last one that we are reviewing today. So, let's see what we've got inside of here. Now, he also gets the Avengers A with the Starburst, meaning there's no difference in any of the backings on any of the figures today. Inside of here, we've got our final leg of BroThor. We have Heimdall's sword to open up the Bifrost. And straight out of Hot Ones himself, we have Idris Elba. Now, Hobbs and Shaw here is not going to give us the best articulation because of his cloak, so let's pop off his head and see what he looks like underneath. Now, I kind of like the underneath look, I'm not going to lie to you guys. Wow, there's a lot of details that they hit underneath here, that they hit underneath our cloak. The cloak is actually very nice. If you notice, there's actually, this isn't directly molded on, there is an opening, so the hood is folded over. It's not usable, but it's folded over, so it's not just molded onto the back. That's kind of neat, but it's all just one piece of soft goods. I will admit, I'm a little bit upset that they hid, like, this scar on his arm here underneath there. Because this is supposed to be from his final scene in Infinity War, where he gets, killed. We've got our scar here on the side, our scar here on the arm, and it's not even the arm that you see, which is a little heartbreaking that they would hide that cool detail just underneath the cloak. If you guys can see, this is actually a fantastic representation of Idris Elba. It looks like the gunslinger himself. It's fantastic. I love how it looks. For our articulation, decent degree forward, barely anything back. The hair, the dreads here, they're just stopping it just shy. For our shoulder articulation, better than a T-pose. That means that all of the figures today have given us at least a T-pose or better, with the exception of Iron Patriots, but that big beefy boy, you weren't going to get a T-pose out of him. We do have the double joint, we've got the bicep swivel first, then we've got the double jointed elbows. Ladies and gentlemen, we got it again. We've got it again today. We've got that good flex. Yes! Yes! Thank you, Hasbro. Thank you. You're doing something right, and it's making it so our figures can actually flex. Thank you. We don't have any articulation here with the hand wrap, but we actually have the sword articulation, the sword cut for the wrist, so that's nice. But that's only with his right hand. With his left hand, it is the standard wrist articulation. So, the arm that's covered up by the shawl is the one that comes with the unique wrist articulation. Alright. for our ab swivel, which means that today we've had one figure, just one, with an ab crunch, and it was Vision. Every other figure today has had an ab swivel. We're only getting a little bit back and forth from him. Just a little bit forward, and actually a decent degree back. It's not bad. No waist cuts, meaning Vision's also the only one to give us a waist cut today. But some pretty damn great hip articulation. Look at this. That's almost a full split. That's almost what we got out of Captain America with those old crap hips. I'm impressed. We, of course, have the thigh cuts, the double jointed knees, which seem like I thought they could go all the way.
Fucking Victory Town!
Not quite. It's not quite there, but that's okay. That's still a pretty good flex we're getting out of it. No boot articulation, but we do have the rocker ankles, which are only going a decent degree out. As for in, that's it. It's barely anything. A little bit forward, but he can go pretty much on point back. All in all, I'm not gonna lie to you guys, I'm pretty satisfied. As for the height of our Heimdall, he's coming in just shy of 7 inches. Now, he doesn't have on armor. We'll call it at 6 3/4 of an inch. Now, he's not wearing armor. Unlike Rhodey, who was coming in at 7 inches tall, covered in armor, he's coming in at almost that tall sans armor. So, okay. All in all, I'm happy with the figure. Would I have preferred him to have been the armored version? Well, yeah. I've been waiting for an armored version since the first Thor movie. And we got nothing. Amazingly, it's the second time we've gotten his sword, but the first time we've gotten him. The previous time being, of course, in the 2-pack with Thor and Valkyrie. But, at least with the sword cut on him, he can indeed hold it out in the intimidating way, like he's about to mess you up. And with that good flex, can we get him to two-hand his mighty blade? After all, it is definitely a two-handed sword. The answer is yes. Yes, we can get him to do that pose that's so iconic for him, where he's holding it just straight up in front of his face. Alright. Okay. I'm really satisfied with this. I'm really satisfied with this Heimdall figure. I genuinely thought that after War Machine, everything was going to be a disappointment, but no. I really like this Heimdall. It's really good. If you're trying to complete your Thor figure sets, if you're trying to get as many different characters from the Thor universe as you can, and you want Idris Elba, personally, I suggest ditching the cloak, because he looks better without it. You get the extra details without the cloak. The cloak just kind of... it nerfs all the fun stuff. His articulation, his extra scarring, all of that just gets kind of nerfed behind his Michonne cloak here. That being said, This is a fun figure. This is a ton of fun. I like it. I like it a lot. If I had to give him a rating, I'd give him... Let's call it an 8.5. I'm not going to quite give him the same as I give to War Machine, because War Machine was... Or Iron Patriot, however you want to call him. He was spectacular. He was close to a 10. If he had a little bit better range of articulation on him, he would have been a 10. However, Heimdall comes close. He's a figure I've been wanting for a very long time. They gave him enough detailing and enough range of movement, and again, the Idris Elba face looks fantastic. I love this figure. He's happily going to be put in my Thor display. I wish they'd give us a Warriors 3 to go along with my Thor display, because I really do want all of the Warriors 3. I want Hogan. I want Fandral. I want them all. Now, that takes care of all of our main figures of our Marvel Legends wave. So that's going to be on... That's not going to be the end of it. You know it and I know it. That's not the end. But, in a different segment today, instead of just reviewing the Build-A-Figure and building it on the side, we're going to do it live. We'll do it live!
We'll do it live! Fuck it!
So, let's get into it, shall we? So that you guys can see all of what's going on, because I've heard that you guys want to see what it looks like before coming together. Our Thor Build-A-Figure. Let's pop on our legs. He just looks so ridiculous. Our arms. It's utterly insane that we got this as an action figure. And let's get the hair out of the hoodie. Ladies and gentlemen, your BroThor Build-A-Figure. This is wild that they actually gave us this figure as a Build-A-Figure. It's wild they gave us this figure at all, but I'm sure they saw the popularity of BroThor and said, well, now we have to make a figure out of it. And of course, our head without the sunglasses here. But that is the only time we're going to ever see that head on this body. Now, I know you're probably wondering to yourself, Vamp, why? Why would we never see that head on this body again? What are you doing? You're tearing me apart, Vamp!
You are tearing me apart, Lisa!
Well, I'm glad you asked. But we'll see that in a little bit. In the meantime, we have our BroThor. And our secondary hand for BroThor. With our time travel device on there. So if you've got those quantum suit figures from before, you can put him with them since he's got the quantum device on the back of his hand. So yes, happily throw him in with your quantum suit Cap, Iron Man, Ant-Man, Ronin. I knew I was missing one. Your quantum suit Natasha and your quantum suit Nebula. Throwing him in with your Professor Hulk here. And call it a day for that setup, since you've got the quantum device on the back of his hand. But enough about display ideas, let's get into our articulation. That's as far as he's looking down, and that's as far as he's looking up. You're not getting a whole lot of neck articulation. You've got too much beard, too much hair, and too much hoodie for that. For our shoulder articulation, we're getting a T-pose. I'll take it. I will take a T-pose out of our God of Thunder. He does have bicep swivels, but they are inside of our sleeves here. He does have double jointed elbows. I'm not sure. I'll leave it up to you guys. Is that good flex? What do you think? You think it's that good flex? I think it's close. I don't know if it's there. I feel like he's got that same kind of flex that we saw from Captain America. He's got a flex, but it's not all the way to that good flex. He does also have wrist articulation, but for both of his wrists, it is the sword swivel. So, alright. It's going to give him better range of motion when using his trusty Stormbreaker here as a bottle opener. For our waist swivel, we're getting a little bit side to side, but that's really all we're getting. I'm not getting anything forward, and that's as far as he's going back. That's it. Forward and back. It's barely anything. We do not have a waist cut on him. But we've got one of the best hip articulations in the wave. Alright. We, of course, also have the thigh cuts. We know that there are going to be the thigh cuts because we had to put on the legs ourselves. We've got knees, but they are only single-jointed knees. That's as far as they're bending. That's it. That's barely even 90 degrees. For our feet, I noticed this when putting him together. He actually has boot cuts inside of here, just right above the tiny Crocs that we've got, which... Why Crocs? I guess it goes with the rest of the aesthetic, but why? Why, Thor? Why? We do have rocker ankles here, but they're not giving us a whole lot of movement. That's all of the outward and all of the inward movement that we're getting. There's too much flash from the bottom of the pajama pants here to go any further. Speaking of, that's as far forward as we're going, and that's as far back. Because of the way this is molded, you're not getting too great of a range of movement. All in all, what do I think of our BroThor build-to-figure? I can't believe it got made. That's what I think. I can't believe this thing got made. I can't believe that they said, you know what? People like him enough. Let's make that into a build-to-figure. And they did. In a robe, a hoodie, and pajama pants and Crocs. I will say this. Thanks, Hasbro. This is the easiest reference for cosplay that I'm going to get. Because if you think for a moment that if my amazing editor does do Valkyrie, that I'm not going to do this version of Thor, clearly, you don't know that I already have a full replica of Stormbreaker. What do I give the build-to-figure? Is the articulation great? No. Is the sculpt unique? Yes, very. They had to give us a whole new sculpt for the belly. Okay. They had to give us a whole new sculpt for everything, because I haven't done any of this before, except maybe Stormbreaker, and I think even it's new. I don't think it's the same as the previous Stormbreakers that I've got. It's so weird. Before I forget, before I give him a rating, he's measuring in... Really, he's just about as tall as Heimdall. About 6 3/4 of an inch. Alright. Oh. I always thought of Heimdall as being a little bit taller, but whatever. All in all, I'll give him a 7. He's unique. He doesn't have a great deal of range, but he is unique. And I'll take that. I will take unique. If nothing else, I'll take him for the uniqueness. But before we get too far from our Thor, remember that unmasked head that I said would never go on this figure? Let's find out why. For the second time today, customizing time! So, you want that end of Endgame Thor. The one where he was really worthy. Where he's wielding Stormbreaker in one hand, Mjolnir in the other. Where he's fully armored up, but with the beard and the hair and the scar. You want that version. They didn't make it for you, and you're not willing to spend $160 on a third party that made that version. Whatever shall you do? I've got a few ideas. So here we have the very available, and still available at some stores around me, it's still available, Thor from Infinity War. Because my local Walmarts don't know how to restock anything. I also don't know what it means when people don't buy something that you should probably put it on clearance. And I was right. I'm not just out of my mind. This is a very different version of Stormbreaker. And I'll be honest, comparing the two, between this one and this one, I know which one I prefer. I mean, let's take a look at these. This one, it's a little bit too twig-like. I know that that's exactly what it is. It's just Groot's hand, or appendage, going around it, but I see some paint bleed here where some of the branches look like they're metal. I don't see that on this one. And I like the darker color of Stormbreaker here versus the lighter color here. I also don't like how flimsy this one is. You can keep that version. For this version, though, let's pop it into Thor's right hand. And let's get that lightning back around, so we can really get that effective look of it coated in electricity. Yeah. Yeah. But in this version, for the Endgame one, he was wielding both Stormbreaker and Mjolnir. If you've been watching the channel for a while, you'll remember this 2-pack with Lady Sif and Thor from Thor: The Dark World. Which is the last time we saw Mjolnir before it got destroyed Well, actually, no, we saw it in Age of Ultron as well, but in a Thor standalone, it was the last time we saw it in a standalone before it got destroyed. Which means we've got Mjolnir, we've got Stormbreaker. If we pop off this Hemsworth head and put on this Hemsworth head, just like that, ladies and gentlemen, you've got my display for Avengers Endgame. And it involves a dual-wielding Thor the way we saw him at the end of Avengers Endgame. You know what? I'm pretty sure this is how I'm going to be displaying him from now on. Because I just love how this looks. This is probably going to be my new MCU Thor, and it's just kit bashed together from a couple of old Thors. You can use whichever Mjolnir you have that you like. Use some more blue electricity up his other arm so that you really get that powerful glow of him about to just wreck Thanos. I like it. I like it. I'm not gonna lie, that's probably how he's gonna be displayed. The Infinity War head, I can pop it onto my, because I know I have it right over here, my Ragnarok Thor from the Valkyrie Thor 2-pack. Otherwise, I'll just put it back into that box. This is going to be my ultimate Thor for Avengers Endgame. That's literally perfect. I couldn't ask for better. So, with the two heads that you're given with War Machine / Iron Patriot, you have two different things that you can display them on. Both the BroThor and the Endgame Ultimate Thor. Because of that, I'm very satisfied with this wave. We've finally got a Heimdall figure. We've got one of the best War Machine Iron Patriot figures we could get. We got a really, really good Iron Man. We got a Valkyrie in her armor. That's the best I could say for it. And we got an MCU Vision. Plus that Captain America, but we won't talk about that. We got BroThor. And this will be in my display just like this. I love how this turned out. It looks perfect. I couldn't be happier. All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that does it for our Avengers Endgame BroThor wave of action figures. Thank you so much for coming, guys. Have a great one. Keep it nerdy.